M3.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
M3.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. Yo, I'm not James Cameron or like that, but this is better than the sequel of Avatar. This is gonna be better than Tom Cruise's, Top Gun Part 2. We're about to break records up in here. Man, I got Mr. Geno Kyle. Woo! Geno, what's up, baby?
Good morning, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm fabulous. And I'm gonna just say this right now. I am stupendous. I am feeling it right now. And I'm excited, man, because we were just talking about this before the show started, that me and you many years ago, did this closing video at one of the dealerships. And man, this became like a cult classic in our industry. I don't know if you know this, but there's hundreds, plural, of thousands of views between YouTube, Facebook, Bradley On Demand, I think even Cardone On Demand. You're all over the place. This is one of the most requested subjects, is the art of closing, trial closing and stuff like that. So brother, how you been? How you feeling? You feeling good? You look good.
Man, I'm doing good, man. And I'm happy to be back on here with you guys. You know, that black and orange represents something, and I jumped on your Facebook group this weekend, man, and it is unbelievable the amount of people that you have show up for that and the community that you guys have built. It's cool to see that the industry is headed in that direction and you spearheaded that, man. I applaud you guys there at Bradley for that. And those training modules, unbelievable. You should see. I'm turning into a CRM master now, man.
Yeah, word.
Oh, believe me. Watch me. We're in the double digits in a week already. So I can't wait to see where this goes too. But let's get down to what me and you do best. Let's just chop up the game and see if we can help somebody find another level. How about that?
Absolutely. Let me do this though. I want for the people that that might not know who you are, and they don't know who Geno Kyle, the man, the myth, the legend is. Can you just please just give a little bit of breakdown of who you are, your background in the automotive industry, how long you've been doing this, and what you feel your personal expertise is as relates to automotive sales?
I don't know about a myth. I don't know about a legend, but I'm just no different than anybody else. I got into this business, man, when I was 23 years old. I came down to Indianapolis and I wanted to be an accountant. And I got down here and the 1979 K5 Blazer I was driving burned up with everything I had in it. And my uncle had a job at a car dealership. And I got in the business and I had to fight for a job because the person who interviewed me didn't believe I was committed enough to do the job. And my uncle went over his head. They got me hired. And man, like my first month in the business, like 30 years ago, not knowing nothing. I remember the conversation my mother had with me. She said, Geno, you're an accountant. You're not a car salesman. You're going to starve to death. And ran out there, man, and made me like a quick $8,800. And I was like, man, I think I can do this. And I hung in there with it. And the longer that I started doing it, because I was an athlete, I recognized that sales was just as much of a craft as anything else. It's like being a doctor, like being a lawyer. It's like being, someone who's in practice at something. So you're always looking to improve on all the small things. And that was something that meant something to me in my life because I knew what it correlated, being an athlete or being a musician or being a writer or anything else. The better you get at something, the better you can express those gifts through what you do. And it changed my life. It just did. Sales has changed my life, man. And I don't regret a day of it. And it helps you in terms of dealing with a lot of things in life. We had this tendency, we want to run away when things aren't right. But I mean, in the automobile business and in the sales business, the first thing you need to develop is that callousness in your mind to recognize that you're going to spend the majority of your time failing anyway. But it's not failing. That just means you're spending 90% of your time learning. So when you can execute that with perfection the next time, your performance goes to the next level. So I think for me, the biggest staple point that I want to leave behind when it's all over with in my career for me is the fact that I help people get better. And my number one quest is to improve performance. You know what I mean? And it all comes down to small things.
No, absolutely. But just talk about this real quick. In your 30 plus years of honing your craft, how many people do you think that you've trained, from salespeople to sales managers to GSMs? Because you were a GM as well. I mean, so like, how many people in your career do you think that you've trained personally?
Maybe 1,300.
That's
1,500.
a lot of people. And again, that's different, folks. Let me just say this to the audience. Being a trainer and you're flying all around, Geno's talking about like directly working under him. You know what I mean? Not as a trainer, but as a manager. That's a lot of people. Now, you told me something the other day, you know, when we were just talking on a friendly level, that like wherever you go in Indy, like, you know, you bump into people that they're like, oh, Geno, you train me. What's that like? Talk to us about that.
It's humbling. It is. Because, you know, it takes a lot of energy from yourself, both mentally and emotionally and physically, to dedicate that type of time one-on-one with so many people. And then you have a tendency to sometimes wonder if some of the things you've said or some of the things you've done have played an impact on those people. But when you come back and you see someone 5, 6, 7 years later, or you pick up and you get a text and it's like, man, I finally got a promotion. I don't know where I would have been if you wouldn't have been on my case, if you wouldn't have taught me what you taught me. It's extremely humbling to me, man. And I love it. I love it. I mean, it is, that's game changing for me.
Well, man, one of your proteges is one of our partners, you know, Miss Chrissy Burton, the car fairy. I mean, to train literally the #1 female in the entire automotive industry, you know, to selling 74 cars on the showroom floor, all special finance deals, and in the middle of all the haters and naysayers and everything else like that. Let's talk about Chrissy, man. Like, you know, has it been a pleasure working and watching this woman develop to what she's become under your tutelage?
She's a beast all to herself. I don't know if I'm willing to attach my name to that level of greatness, to that degree, because she is like, there are car salespeople and then there are like marketing genius, and she's a marketing genius.
Well, you might be humble, but I'm not. I'm a freaking raging promoter. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's my girl too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she said point blank, I'm gonna speak on behalf of her since you're too humble and shit right now. I don't know what happened. You're getting a little more humble in your old age or whatever, but
I am. I need to.
Because this girl claims you. She's claiming you. She's like, that's my guy. And if I'm not mistaken, she just followed you to your new dealership. So that's because of you. And that's the thing I want to get out. You're such a strong, profound leader that these people follow you, bro, through the depths of hell, through fire. You know what I mean? Because you do something, and we're going to get into that about leading by example, but let's just continue with Chrissy. I mean, like, finish what you were saying. Like, she's a marketing genius. So talk about that. Like, what makes her special? Dissect it. Like, let's just say that, you know, that us two intellectual car people, you know what I mean? Together, we have over half a century, brother, together in the automotive industry, almost
That's true.
60 years. You know what I'm saying? So what is it? Because in my almost 24 years in automotive, I've never seen a female at her level, and I've only seen a couple of males at her level. And I'm not in her level selling cars, dog. You know what I mean? So what do you think makes her special? What is it in her mind that makes her different from almost every other person breathing air in this country?
Number one, we were raised in a generation where your best salespeople were incredibly good at skill stacking. They were masterful at things like a meet and greet, establishment of rapport, qualifying, product presentation, demonstration, recapping the deal, sitting it down, writing it up and closing it and sending it on its way. When you have someone that can generate their own business and their business is running on autopilot, they're in another stratosphere of what a conventional salesperson can be seen as. So when I say that she's a marketing genius, when someone walks in the door and they come to work and 5 people come behind them like they are a Pied Piper of customer creation, you have to marvel at that. You have to respect where that level of the game is at. And she has an incredible loyal following behind her. That's the thing that makes me smile the most. Just an incredible business talent overall. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it in years.
Well, no, let's talk about this because we're going to get to the closing and all that stuff a little bit later on in the show. But let's just talk about this right here because, yes, Chrissy and the T Got Your Keys, Tiana Mix, those type of people, Brandon Kagoza, you know what I mean, from Jeff Hubler Automotive Group, there's some brilliant people that are able to generate the opportunity. But my brother, this is where you come back in. I'm putting Geno back into the mix because opportunity is one thing, but what you do with that opportunity is another thing. Let me repeat that. Opportunity is one thing, but what you do with that opportunity is completely something else. So she's got both pieces to the puzzle. But let's talk about the first part of that. Man, to be able to generate your own business. You said something to me on the phone the other day that I was like, I say it all the time because you even said, Sean, you told me this. But it's so good now that finally other people are saying this and agreeing with me because I've been screaming this shit for like 8-10 years now. Is you said the words that the most successful people in this industry, like today in 2023 and going forward, are going to be marketers. Can you explain that concept to us?
If 92 to 98% of all car transactions start online, then the showroom floor is on your telephone, right? Mm-hmm. The number one form of communication worldwide is Facebook, right?
Social media. Yep.
If you are running a business off social media with the number of people on earth that spend that much time on social media, think about it like this. You could spend an entire day dialing, trying to get to 120 people, and only 10% of those people will actually pick up a phone.
Yes.
You can step outside, put your product on social media, hit 15,000 people within a matter of minutes, and the only people that will raise their hand are the people that have interest in buying your product. I mean, she's broken that code. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she lives in that zone. So once you've gotten that figured out, you're living a life of high performance.
Mm. Let's take this deeper. Can I, you know me, brother, this is like unfiltered. Yeah. I mean, this is as raw as it gets. This is the real deal. That's why people love this show, because this ain't corporate, man. This is, sometimes it's not pretty, but it's real as AF. You know what I mean?
We always kept it that way.
All right, good. So I'm gonna get a little bit deeper now. Okay, so here's a person. Let's start with the word person. So here's a person that legitimately, verifiably, you know, has sold 74 cars in 1 month, but she averages 50, 60. But still, that's crazy. Now, my question though is that like you said is impressive. I concur, that's impressive. Now let's add something that you can't speak about. This is a Black woman. Let's not get into the woman side of this. This is a minority. This is an African-American person. I think to be able to have those numbers in this country, in this industry, is even more crazy. Do you agree with me or not?
You think that's crazy? I've got two. I've got a lady that works for me right now. She's on leave right now. Mm-hmm. She does 50 a month.
Mm.
Here, imagine this firepower when I put them back together again.
Mm. No, but I want you to answer the direct question though. Do you think that being a minority, being Black in automotive is not as easy as being white in automotive?
No, it's not.
I don't think it is either, brother. Let me explain something to everybody that's listening here. And I say this every chance I get, I want to bring this up. over 30%, almost 33%, 1/3 of all car sales are, by minorities. That means 1/3 of all cars that are purchased in this country are purchased by minorities, yet less than 6% of all dealerships are owned by minorities. Now, I didn't say the 6% is owned by Black people. I'm saying all the minorities, Asians, the LGBT community, Hispanics, Africans, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, whatever. If you add all the minority groups together, they only represent less than 6% of all, ownership. So for me, I think that it's even more spectacular. It's even more grand. It's even more awing to know that Chrissy has shattered that ceiling. Now, let's get to the last thing that we both can't speak about. She's a female. So first of all, like, again, even if you're a white male, the number she's doing is astronomically impressive. But when you put that being a minority, even more impressive. Putting that on being a female and being a single mother that just had an infant like last year, I mean, like, it's unbelievable what she's accomplished. When I frame that statement that way, do you not agree with me, like how crazy impressive that is?
I smile at her. She'll walk in at 10 o'clock, sell 4 cars. I got to go pick my baby up. Okay, good. And I want, but the best part about it for me is that I want her to do that. I love seeing her have the ability to run her business that way and fulfill her life financially, and then turn around and be in a work environment to where she can come to her boss and tell him, now I'm getting ready to go home and be a mom. I feel good about that. I feel good about that. I really do, man. I love it. But in my opinion right now, the ladies are so dominant. They're so dominant. They're so focused. They're a lot more intense about what they came there to do in terms of their social media presence. I believe they have a lot of a leg up on guys because we want to walk in the door and we want to walk around and up everything, as opposed to they just get it. The only thing I need to do is put who I am in front of people that want to deal with me, and then they just sit back and watch that door swing. And I love that. I think the women have more of an impact in this industry right now than they might have had in 30 years, probably more. Because now they're actually outperforming.
Agree with you 100%. I want to go backwards a little bit and talk about this whole thing about her selling 4 cars and saying, I'm going to go pick up my kid. Here's the thing I want to go over. There is this archaic philosophy of bell to bell. Okay. And I don't agree with it at all. I think it needs to be abolished, but I understand where it came from and why. So let's talk about this, because you've been doing this for 30 plus years. I've been doing this for 24. And what I believe is, back in the day, the dealerships were trying to get 10 cars at least from a salesperson. But unfortunately, most salespeople back in the day weren't as productive as dealers needed them, etc. So they would have to have these archaic hours just to get the minimum level of performance. But it's almost like tolls. Do you know, I don't know if you know this, brother, this is facts. Do you know that tolls on bridges was never supposed to be a permanent thing? It was only supposed to be a temporary thing to repair a bridge. And then the government's like, oh shit, we could milk the hell out of people and by paying a toll to go here. And that's what I think happened, with bell to bells. I think that it was needed a long time ago, before all this technology, before all these best practices came out and changes of the world. But dealers never change shifts, or change the mentality. And I think this alienates Generation Z employees, females, parents, of young kids to get into our industry. But I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, when you first get into the automotive industry, you have to build your book of business. You have to use whatever natural resources. I call it the umbilical cord from the dealership. Those are fresh ups, phone ups, internet ups, things like that. But then once you build your own book of business, if you are able to do what a Chrissy Burton does, or what a Cody Carter does, or some of these mega people that are selling 50, 60, 80 cars, I've never in my career ever found a dealer principal or GM or even GSM that would tell somebody, no, you've got to work bell to bell. If you're selling me 50, 60 cars, as long as one rule, as long as your CSI is good, I don't give a shit what your schedule is. Geno, can you talk about this?
Those are the people you don't have to worry about. I mean, those are the guys that you can't build a house starting with the roof, right?
Right.
But if my foundation consists of two women that could sell 50 cars apiece, those are two people that I don't have to worry about. And in actuality, they do the work of 6 to 7 people. Why am I concerned with them? As far as being a manager and a leader is concerned, now my job is to find the guys that need me and then jump in their hip pocket on a day-to-day basis and help them plan, strategize, implement, and execute what it's going to take for them to get better. So it's not that you don't focus 100% of your attention on the people that don't need you and then lay claim that they are where they are because of your leadership. I mean, who you are is dictated by the weakest man on the totem pole, not the highest. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
Because here's
Hit
how
them.
you got.
Whoa. Stop. Hit them with what you just said. GSMs, GMs, listen, rewind this podcast when we're in post, okay? Please repeat that last statement. That shit is classic right there. God.
Let me deliver it in a different way. The strength of your performance or your store isn't dictated by the highest performers you have and what they're going to do anyway. Those guys are alphas. And they understand that in that hierarchy of the top 3% of the game, that's all they live their lives for anyway. So do you really need to motivate that guy? You need to turn around and you need to go to the guy that's selling 8, 9, 10 cars a month. And you need to help them visualize the fact that they could be up to 15, 20, 25 cars a month. And it's your responsibility to not only help them see that vision, but plan accordingly on how they can execute it. And then you and them every day are going to live a life together of enhancing their performance until they're making life-changing money. That in itself is going to take your store and turn it upside down and blow the lid off. The top tier guys won't. They're going to get you there. The bottom tier guys are the ones that are going to push you over the top and keep you there. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. I respect and appreciate you saying that because, again, a lot of people do the opposite. A lot of people, a lot of managers, a lot of owners, they want to focus, like you said, on the superstars. That's one of my people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there might be some aspects of that, but you're absolutely right. In the military, there's a phrase I love. You're only as strong as your weakest link. You know what I mean? That's right. In a chain. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if I've got a sales team, my sales team is only as strong as the lowest person on that totem pole, as you said. I would agree with that. So when is someone like a Chrissy, is that something that they're born with, or is that something that could be learned? You know what I mean? Was Chrissy destined to be as successful as she is? Or, because that's just naturally in her? Or is it something that was trained, or is it a combination? Let's go through this. Is greatness innate, or is it a learned behavior? Is my question.
Man, greatness is something that's pursued in life. That's something that consumes you. You're not born great at nothing. You know what I mean? That comes because somebody saw something within themselves, and when nobody else saw it and nobody else believed it, you had made a decision that in your life that this is who I'm going to be, and no one's going to stand in the way of me becoming that. And then you develop this obsession that once you've got the blueprint on how to get there, you become just as obsessed about living that blueprint as anything else. And then you're starting to keep records of it, and you're tracking it, and you're proving it to yourself every day. and the rest of the world only sees the end results, but nobody sees the pain that it took for you to get there. I mean, man, I don't see a lot of greatness without a lot of pain. Without a lot of suffering. So when somebody tells me they're great at something and I've been like this all my life, the first thing I think is you full of shit. Because anything that's worth having in life is worth paying for, and anything that's worth living your life for is worth suffering for. So if you didn't suffer to get there, and it ain't a story being told in the middle of that, I got a hard time believing you. You know what I mean? And I watched this woman go through a lot to get to where she's at. So I just think she's just a beast. She was meant to be one. She took a stance on becoming one, and she lives every day of her life to get there.
I think she's a beautiful person too. She's not perfect. None of us are perfect, but I think she means well. She cares about people. She cares about her clients. She treats them well. She's not one of those people that's like, let me just crack somebody and make as much as I can make. And then, I don't really care what happens to that person. She really cares. That's why you said that her people are fiercely loyal. Her prospects, her clients are fiercely loyal. Let's talk about that, Geno. You've been around greatness. You know what I mean? You're great at what you do yourself. So I'm saying that. You might not speak. I can fucking say it's my show. I say what I want to say. I believe you're great at what you do. And you create other great people. And you are also around greatness. And you are old enough to be able to distinguish bullshit from reality. So my question is this. In the pursuit of greatness, right? As a sales manager, as a GSM, how do you find greatness, or how do you help cultivate greatness, or how do you help to inspire greatness with your sales team? How does a manager do that? Can you give us some Geno Kyle advice?
After these messages, we'll be right back. Dealer Synergy is an award-winning training, consulting, CRM, recruiting, and accountability firm. We are a 13-time Dealer Choice Award winner. We have proudly served automotive dealers for 20 years and have trained over 150,000 automotive sales professionals. We've worked with over 3,700 rooftops across the country, not including our global clients in Canada, Russia, the Dominican Republic, and more. We are the most sought-after subject matter experts and pioneers of the automotive industry. Our executive team has a combined 75-plus years of automotive industry expertise at the highest level. We've literally taken dealerships from having challenges and problems, some even on the brink of bankruptcy, to becoming national success stories.
Dealer Synergy had really helped build something from the ground up. You guys have made me fall in love with what I've always loved to do. I give credit to Dealer Synergy.
I just hired 8 people, and Dealer Synergy HR really was critical in me being able to do it.
You provided the training, you helped us with our CRM. You provided a solution for a lot of things that I was looking for. Our people loved LA, what Karen has done for me personally. Franca, her communication back and forth. You've got a really solid group of people.
Having somebody like Sean and his company that knows automotive, so the marriage between what knowledge he possesses and the fact that he has this great video production staff, it gives you the best of both worlds. So I would certainly recommend them.
Sean comes in the dealership and he advanced us light years ahead of our competition.
Just an absolute leading edge training company.
Go to BradleyOnDemand.com and give your team access to the best automotive training in the world.
Embody it as much as you possibly can every day.
Speak the truth.
You need to understand something. The reason behind why a lot of guys, you get tired, you get burned out, you get frustrated, is because you're sitting in your position with this attitude of people are always taking from you because they're coming to you all the time. You need to understand something. When it comes to being a great leader, you're given 99% of the time. You're given to everyone around you 99% of the time. So when I come to you and I ask you for something, that 1% of the time, I don't have a hard time getting it from you because you know what I've built into you every step along the way. So, I mean, it's not about what somebody else can do for you. You got to remember something. I mean, in the positions that we sit in, our rewards come after everybody else succeeds. If they don't succeed first, I don't deserve mine in the end. Does that make sense?
100%.
I can't get my check until they get theirs first.
Geno, you said something also the other day to me, which I love, because I don't mean any disrespect to all the bitch ass people in the industry, but you know who you are. There's a lot of managers out there that manage from the tower. They delegate instead of leading by example. And you had a phrase about being battle tested. Can you please explain what that means? Why do you feel that way? And I want you to speak to the sales managers and please try to encourage them to lead from the front. So you know what I'm talking about, the conversation we had. Can you please break that down?
It's hard for someone to follow what you say when they haven't seen you do it.
Oof. Say that again.
Here, it's hard for me, man. How can I follow you? Can't everybody lead everyone? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
If I had 9 years worth of concrete up underneath my feet and a telephone up to my ear for 9 years before I finally got a break, and you are going to be the one that leads me, your game has to be on that level. It has to be on that level. You just can't send me in the battle and then dictate or critique my performance when I haven't seen you pick it up and shoot it yourself.
It's and decimate you.
It's
they have
like,
the audacity to yell at you, scream at you, throw the buyer's order at you, but go back there, all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah, but that's
rah-rah, and you haven't even stepped on the field.
Well, I mean, I think, but that shows your weakness as opposed than it does your strength. Because one of the number one things I look at when I look at a master in anything is his level of patience. You know what I mean? Because what do they say in the 48 laws? That's a virtue of God's. So I always look at that leader's level of patience and how he conducts himself underneath the scenarios that he's been underneath. And it's hard for me to see how you could get mad over what happened in an inch when you should have mastered the next mile. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so the circumstances that take place during the course of doing business, those aren't the things that affect me. The only thing I see is the end result and the influence that I could have in getting that deal done and across the line. Does that make sense?
100%.
As you would say, falling into getting the deal closed, delivering the car, making sure the experience stays as smooth as it should. And if there were problems that exist, make sure I'm the only one that knows that they exist. My salesperson doesn't need to know that there's a problem that's in existence. My customer doesn't need to know that there's a problem that's in existence. I'm sitting in the position that I'm sitting in is because I see a lot further. I see a lot deeper. I have a different understanding than they do, and I can see a problem from a mile away. So if I can jump in and circumvent it before it blows up, I'm at the height of my game right then. Does that make sense? And
Absolutely.
It's getting there and staying there with every man that's on the floor, with every customer that's on your floor at all times. That's the zone that I try to fall off into when I'm in it.
So this is a public service announcement. If you want to build a strong team, if you want your people to do certain things like training, like use the CRM, like do this, like do that, it would be beneficial. I really implore you all to lead from the front, like Geno's saying. That means go in the deal. That means go use the training. So for example, you are a Bradley and a Man client. Okay, both of the stores. So you're part of a dealer group. But you yourself just said before the thing that you were learning what? CRM. You know what I mean? And talk about that. Why is it that you're training doing those things when a lot of managers don't train? Why do you personally feel it's important for you to train using Bradley on Demand or whatever system a dealer's doing?
Why should I expect someone else to do it if I'm not doing it?
Ooh. Malik,
I mean,
you got to sit around and give this to other managers.
You gotta access here. You got access to the training records at my store. You see where I'm at on the food chain. In addition to doing my job, it puts a smile on my face that I got sales reps that are coming to me and they're telling me, Coach K, I'm out training you right now. you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love that, and they're getting just as much from it as I am. So when I start putting that energy out there and I'm using the phrases and the statistics and some of the things that I'm learning we're all correlating together on the sales floor together. I know exactly what it is you're talking about. I'm on that. You know, after the first engagement, we're switching 100% email, 100% video. Coach, I got that. That's what I want to hear. So now we're all walking in lockstep. And then I'm starting to measure it and track it and see if we're improving from it. And guess what? We are in a short period of time. So I jump right back out on my floor and let them know how much I appreciate what it is that they're doing. And I specifically tell them the small things that they're doing that are important, that's having an impact. And then we go back to their performance for the week and we show them that because of these tactics that you were exercising, this is what it's led to. Man, I've got 6 guys right now that are on pace to do over 16 to 20 cars.
Oof.
Here,
Okay.
Guess what? Obviously, everybody is chasing the queen. You know what I mean? But she walked in and now the bar is raised. So now I've got guys coming to me like, how do I get that number? Well, we're going to start from day one and we're going to start the process of your social media outreach every day. And we're going to work and focus on growing that. But until then, it's the CRM, it's the lead, it's the appointment, it's the engagement. So I'm excited because I'm seeing the performance of my store change because of that. But if we didn't have that singular training that we're all on the same page together, it would have been a lot harder to move and sell. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Question for you before we wrap up this one, and we're going to go into the next podcast episode right after this. We're going to split these into 2, and we're going to go into the word tracks. For all the people in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group listening, we're going to go into the word tracks, scripting, all that stuff in a couple minutes. But Geno, how much do you love the Brother to Man platform, and why do you love the platform so much?
I wouldn't use anything else. And here's the thing about it. For someone to actually lay out the proper strategy step by step on how to use a CRM, because as I've learned, everybody has a CRM, but it's not adequately used because 90% of them aren't set up the right way. But
Correct.
It's amazing to see how it runs when it's set up the right way. Not only as a store, not only as a manager, but all the way down to that specific strategy to every salesperson you've got, and you're sitting down with them and you're helping them set it up, and then you're watching their businesses run on their own. See, nothing is more scary than a salesperson coming to work and walking around with nothing to do.
Ooh,
I mean, you know what I mean?
exactly, 100%.
You know, you've got somebody there occupying a lot of time and you're paying them and they're not making you any money. And then they're not conducting any activities that are going to generate you making any money. That nowadays, that is like, it's like a kiss of death financially.
100%.
You know, it's not an effort rewarding business.
All right, Geno, we're going to do this. We're going to split. We're going to wind this down. Hey, everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, and you've been rocking with Geno Kyle, one of the best closers in the entire automotive industry. And I'm going to count us back in, and we're going to do the second podcast back to back. So remember, for everybody that's in the Facebook group, don't be confused. What's happening is we go live stream, and in a couple of weeks, this is going to go to Spotify, SoundCloud, and all the other podcast channels out there. So on 3, 2, hey, everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. And I'm rocking with a special guest. This is part 2 of the series with one of the absolute best closers in the automotive sales industry, Mr. Geno Kyle. Geno, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. So again, this week, what I want to talk about is closing. I want, for the people that didn't catch the last podcast episode, I want you all to know is that Geno and I did a video series, many years ago. It blew up, went industry viral. There's hundreds of thousands of views between YouTube, Facebook, as well as in Brother to Man, and I think Cardone on Demand too. So Geno, the art of closing. Let's get into it. So how important do you think it is for an automotive professional to be skilled in closing and every aspect of it, whether it's qualifying, it's trial closes, closing? How important is closing to selling a car?
Well, I mean, it's the final level of execution in any car transaction. I mean, really, when you think about it, nothing is more important than the car being sold and the check being cashed.
100%.
So, your ability to resolve whatever issues and formulate figures and terms and conditions that deliver a car. I mean, that's what makes you who you are as a salesperson.
100%. Now, if we're being brutally honest here, how do you think the industry is today in the art of closing? All these people specifically, do you know that it's the 3-year anniversary of COVID? We are at the 3rd anniversary of COVID. And I believe that people that have not sold cars longer than 3 years are at a different experience level and execution level than people that were selling cars before the pandemic. But I want to know your opinion. How do you think today in 2023, the overall aspect of the industry is in the art of closing?
To be politically correct, there's a whole lot of ring rust.
You're being too kind. Okay, you on your polishedness today. Okay, no problem.
There's a lot of ring rust. There is, man. I mean, to think about how things have been in the last 3 years when there weren't any brand new cars out there, the availability of cars was all but none. To walk into a dealership and people were basically paying whatever price that the dealer told them that they had to pay to get a car. I think now that things are going back to normal again, you're starting to see where the lack of training is standing out, and the lack of training and the ability to close is also starting to reveal itself. So yeah, there's a lot of ring rust from what I'm seeing.
Okay, well, I would agree. I personally, I'm going to be a little bit more brutal. I think that before the damn pandemic, a lot of people sucked trying to close deals. That's why they're only averaged 9.6 cars before the pandemic. Wow. I don't think, that's sad. You know what I mean? That's what it was. Now the average salesperson sells about 8 cars a month. That's it. 8.
It's went down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's went down. There's been millions less cars sold. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot less automotive salespeople. There's just been a lot less car sales. What there is a lot higher grosses. So it's kind of a weird, vortex, if you will. But the bottom line is this, is that closing is not easy. I'm not saying it's hard, but it's not easy. You know what I mean? Because there's some steps that you have to do. So whenever there's steps to something, even making like a cheesecake, it's not that complicated. But when there's a recipe, why do cheesecakes taste differently? Because you don't put the right ingredients in, you don't follow the freaking directions, etc. Well, same thing. If you don't follow the rules of engagement on how to close a sale, which we'll get into in a couple of seconds, you're going to have a lot of misfires and problems and elongated processes. But if you can you just clarify certain things? Okay, what does it mean to close a sale?
You've satisfied all the interest of your client. The number one thing, and maybe it's me, it's almost foreign to hear it to me, that one of the hardest things to do is close a deal. As you say that, and I listen to you, I'm like, why? Why?
I got a bunch of reasons, but go ahead. I want to hear from you.
And you and I have always had great conversations anyway, but why is it so difficult, in your opinion, in the industry that we're in right now?
As a trainer, I'll tell you a whole bunch of reasons why. You hit it on the head. Lack of training on the management level, lack of training on the salesperson level, lack of training on the BDC level, lack of training. One. Second is process integrity. Because if you have a standard operating procedure, if you got the road to the appointment process, which is a phone engagement strategy, if you've got the road to the sale process, but even if you've got it mapped out, but you don't use it, if you skip steps, for example, one of the biggest problems NADA says, forget about me, forget about you. NADA says the number one reason why people don't buy cars is because they're landed on the wrong car, which means they weren't qualified properly, which also means they weren't TO'd, or if they were TO'd, they weren't TO'd properly, because that is single-handedly one of the biggest problems. So again, if you're not qualifying the prospect the right way, identifying wants, wishes, expectations, okay, that's going to deter you from being able to find the exact product, which is product selection. And if you're not, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense where I'm going?
It's like we met one another like 12 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And we had this same conversation. And to me, it's sad that we're having this same conversation 12 years later.
Yes,
but
it is.
We're getting ready. But here's another thing. We're getting ready to remove a whole lot of doubt from this now.
Yes.
Yeah, because you got to take the conversation that you and I had 12 years ago and then we're going to put 12 years worth of growth on it. And I'm about to plant some seeds, and we're going to water them. And there's a lot of people the game is about to get turned around for them today.
Actually, it's going to get turned around next week because, as you heard, this is a 2-part podcast. So next week, we'll pick it up with some of Sean's, Coach Bradley, and Coach K, Mr. Geno Kyle. We're going to drop some of their closing knowledge on you. However, I will not leave you empty-handed. I will give you a road to the sale. We call it the Old Town Road to the Sale. We're going to give that to you. And if you follow it, you'll have a very high probability of being successful. Karina?
Walk in, meet them, greet them, then we qualify. Product selection, figure out which car to try. Demonstrate the vehicle, baby, we gotta walk around. Then we gonna hop in, baby, we gotta cruise the town. Head right back on the seat, my kin that fix up. Then a first pencil commitment, cause I don't get stuck. Slide on back, see the finance folk, and then they ride till they can't no more. I'm gonna finally abide by the Old Town Road to the sale till I can't no more. I'm gonna finally abide by that Old Town Road. I'm gonna sell till I can't no more. I'm gonna finally abide by the Old Town Road to the sale till I can't no more. I'm gonna finally abide by that Old Town Road. I'm gonna sell till I can't no more.
If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman Group on Facebook. We'll see you there.